Good morning, everybody. It's almost Thanksgiving here, and it is a very nice day for November in the mountains of Western North Carolina. It's in the 60s. I'm in short sleeves, which I haven't done that in a couple weeks. We're going to feed the chickens, and then we are going to head up top the mountain and check out our trails and mark out some future trails. Our property is steep. At the gate is about 2,600 feet, and at the top is almost 3,400 feet. It's pretty crazy, almost 800 feet of elevation gain. And about 6 or 7 acres of our property is pasture, and it's hilly, but then it gets really steep, and we haven't really been able to access the back property. There were some old steep trails overgrown, and over time, lately, since the summer, we had a local guy working on our trails for us. I've been marking them out. He's been using his excavator over time to make us a nice little trail system for the horses. We've gone up there quite a few times with horses and with hiking, and it really has opened up a lot of possibilities for the farm. And as we're hiking, I'm going to point out some of those possibilities. It's Wyatt. Wyatt, the donkey. Hey, Wyatt. Good morning, buddy. It's Corn Dog. Hey, Corn Dog. How's it going, buddy? And over here we got Biscuit. I think we're going to call him Biscuit. This is our new family pony. We love him. He's a good boy. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. He's a short. And check out his stripe on his back. It's pretty cool. Let me show you. Isn't this dorsal stripe just crazy cool? Biscuit. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Check this out. Okay, you guys eat your hay hut. We are headed into the woods today. We're on our property. We got about 20 acres in the mountains of Western North Carolina, and it is pretty steep. And it is tough sometimes to know exactly where our property ends and begins because it goes up about 800 feet. It's shaped weird, and our land and the neighbor's land just kind of blend together. That got me thinking. I'm going to share some tips on how to survey your property. Now, this is not a professional survey, but like mainly how to find those markers and to figure out where your property begins and ends. It's not an easy thing to do, especially if you have a bigger property, which I know 20 acres is small to some people, but that's good size. So we're going to be in the woods today, and I'm going to show you some ways to find your property borders. Going into the woods. Okay, so we are headed into the woods, and we're gonna mark out hopefully a future trail. I don't know when it'll get done. Maybe in a month, maybe in 6 months. But this is a great time to mark out trails because there's no leaves on the trees, and I can really see the lay of the land, and I can see how far other trails might be if they're close enough. So again, this is a great time to mark out trails. I know where we're going to be starting. There's an old trail that hasn't been cleared yet, but then after that I got some switchbacks in mind. And right now we're walking on a trail that wasn't here 3 months ago, so it's pretty awesome. And I can't wait to be back here on horses more and maybe an ATV or a side-by-side. And it just really has opened up a lot more of the property. So here is your first tip for surveying your property. And again, this is not a professional survey. The first is talk to your neighbors. I know that's not always the best. Sometimes you got great neighbors, sometimes you got bad neighbors in the city or in the country. But it's always good. Talk to your neighbors. See if you know a little bit of history of your land. For instance, we know that our property at one point was part of a larger tobacco farm. Actually, there was an older neighbor who actually picked tobacco here when he was a younger man. So that's kind of a neat story. And then later, this property was used for cattle. Even though it's pretty steep, it was used for cattle. And then finally, we also know that this property was logged about 30 years ago. And we would not know any of that if we hadn't talked to our neighbors. And of course, you know, neighbors aren't always going to tell you the truth, but ours did. So that's a good starting point. Just talk to the local folks that live near your property and see what it was used for. That's kind of a good starting point to look out for, you know, evidence of that. Okay, so here's two more tips when you're checking out your property. Look for older boundary markers. And again, these boundary markers don't tell you exactly where your property is, but it gives you a good idea. So here's a good example. I'm going to show you these giant red oak trees. Well, those are locusts, but there's a big red oak, red oak, red oak. These are all monster red oaks planted on our property line. And here's a third tip. Look for old fencing. Old fencing is going to give you at least a pretty general idea where your property is. These are old locust posts, probably from, I bet, 50 or 60 years ago. And again, this doesn't tell us exactly where our property is, but this is really, really close to our property border. So we got two things going on here. We got these giant red oaks, which a lot of people typically would plant those on property lines. And we have this old fence. So these are just more clues to keep looking when you're surveying your property. Hey, buddy. Corgi butt. I love this little walk here with this rhododendron. It's one of my favorite mountain plants here. All this rhododendron. This is our little rhododendron thicket. They're mushrooms. They're mushrooms. Cool. I'm sure you can see it. Mushrooms. Okay, here's the old logging trail. It gets pretty steep there, people. But we had this trail put in completely flat. I got some maple trees marked out here for some future maple syrup production, I hope. So this is one of our new trails. And then we got a switchback. It's all about switchbacks in the mountains. If you don't know about switchbacks, they make things easier hiking these steep hills. And we got all these locust trees that are great for fence posts and for harvesting firewood. This is another reason I need to get a side-by-side to make harvesting firewood a lot easier. All new trails here. Just love coming up here. Another tip, which maybe seems obvious, maybe not. Google Earth. That's right, Google Earth. Google Earth has, I mean, it's just amazing, isn't it? When we first bought the farm, I used Google Earth and walked our entire property line, and I was able to find our metal property pins, maybe 6 or 7 of them, just using Google Earth. So make sure you have Google Earth with you, but then also go to your local, I guess, your county GIS. Print out a GIS map of your property and take it with you when you're exploring your new property, people. So if you have Google Earth and your GIS map, you can really figure stuff out. So having these trails has really opened up a lot of new dreams. And this is not one of our new trails. This is an old trail, super steep. I'm just hiking it because it's a shortcut. Whoa. But we can ride our horses back here, side by side one day, hiking, camping. I may have a tiny cabin that I might build out here. So there's just all these new possibilities. I'm just really excited. I mean, heck, I may have a couple tiny cabins out here, and you gotta hike to them. It's not for the weak, people. You might have a half-mile hike to get to these cabins one day, and I think that's pretty cool. Foraging is going to be a lot easier with new trails. So I'm pretty excited about that. So here's a part of our trail system that's really steep, and we're gonna try to figure a way to get up here. But here's a little steep section of this trail. Horses do not want to go up this. I don't want to go up this. Woo! Whew. Okay. Trail keeps getting steep. And that's what I just walked up. That's a steep trail, people. But we are trying to get a switchback system to avoid that trail. Here is another tip surveying your property. When you go to GIS, get as many different aerial photos as you can from different years. Most places have probably been taking pictures, aerial photos for at least 20 years. So if you do that, a lot can change in 20 years, let me tell you. We have maybe 4 or 5 different years I can look at. They're all separated by about 4 or 5 years. And when I look at the earliest photos, I can see evidence of the logging, and I can also see the old logging trails. That's how I've been able to design my trail system that I'm working on. Is I found, and I'm finding, old logging trails that were built maybe 20 years ago, and they're overgrown, but they're still trails. It's a lot easier to clear that old trail than to build a 100% new trail. So when you're at your GIS for your county, don't just get the most current version. The most current version isn't necessarily going to be the best version to figure out what's on your property. Look at as many different years as possible. Even use Google Maps. Like I said, use Google Earth, use Google Maps. They all update at different times. You may even be able to call your county and see if you can find even older maps to access than what's available online. So these are just some tips. Another tip, water features. If you have water on your property, walk to the end of that water, especially if it starts on your water. We have a spring that starts on our property, and I know where it begins, so find those water sources. So I hope these little tips have been handy for you. I know this was just a quick video. I think I've at least shared 5 tips on how to survey your homestead property. If you have any ideas, just leave some other surveying ideas in the comments. Now, again, like I said several times, this is not a professional survey. If you had some sort of land dispute, or you wanted to build, like, you know, a big cabin right on the edge of your property, or a house or something, or you wanted it for some sort of purpose, you might have to get a professional survey, or if you had a land dispute. But if you're just trying to figure out what's on your land, the tips I gave you are going to be pretty helpful. Okay, it may not look like it at all, but I'm actually standing on a former overgrown trail. It doesn't look like it, but see all these small trees? These trees have probably grown up over the last 15, 20 years. And it's still a trail, it's still pretty flat, but we need to clear it out. I'm gonna mark it, and then after that, I'm gonna start looking for some switchbacks, which those are gonna be brand new trails. So again, this doesn't look like a trail, but I've been on it enough times. It is a trail, we just gotta clean it up. There's that old trail, people. I'm gonna mark it just so it's easier to find the next time. And my spray paint sucks. Oh yeah, that's really gonna help. Oh great. Okay, this isn't gonna work. Unfortunately, my spray can that I marked my trails with kind of went kaput on me. But as you can tell, hopefully you can tell, I know this doesn't look like an old trail to you, but trust me, it is. And this is actually a pretty nice flat trail. This is going to be great for the horses. They're going to really enjoy being on this trail. And then we're going to add some switchbacks to make it less steep for everybody. And I just kind of like this section. It just has some cool rocks that we're coming up to. I don't break my head looking at them. I mean, these trails have really just been so awesome to, you know, explore. Like, check out these cool rocks here. I think they're cool. Let's go check them out. Just a cool sitting rock. Look. This is a great rock to sit on right here. And see how steep it gets though? This area here is too steep for trails, but it's neat. Hey, buddy. I mean, this is just a cool rock. And it's on our property. Very cool. Okay, so here's where things get interesting, because the trail ends here, and then we got our little spring here. But from here on out, it's going to be new trails. And unfortunately, my spray can went kaput on me. But that's okay. I'm going to walk the trail, the potential trail anyways, because this is a great time of year to do it. And I'm going to have to come back with a spray can and go from there, but that's okay. And this here is a great marker. These poplar trees right here. So I'm gonna have the trail come to these poplar trees and then make a turn down that way. So let's check it out. All new trails, baby. So awesome though, just checking out the property. This is a great time of year, like I said. I mean, every time or every season is different in the woods. That's what I love about it. Very cool, very cool. Here's another great reason that this is an awesome time of year to do this. I can see the other trail down below, which I couldn't see it before. So right down there is another trail, which is currently a dead end. So it's nice to know that, hey, we're getting close to a trail intersection, which is what we're all about here, is making those trails intersect. So we got more places to drive and ride horses and hike and explore and forage. Yeah, I just love being out here, people. Hey, buddy. Maybe this could be a trail. Probably not, but maybe. And look, here's proof. There was a machine that got here because this area was logged. I mean, that's a chainsaw there. There's a stump next to Teddy. So there's definitely, and there's stumps here too. There's a stump. Another cool big rock up there. So maybe we could get a trail through here. Maybe. It's steep.